Now, one of the most important things you could do for yourself is to learn some skills. Now, I think that is very intuitive and a lot of people already know that, but life has a lot of things to do. It's not only skill acquisition that may be there. And so I think the best way I could phrase it is one of the best things that you could do is to learn skills fast. But how? That is exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And if that is something that you would like to see, then just stick around. Hello everyone. Now if you're new here, hi, my name is Simon. I'm a final year medical student at the University of Zambia. On this channel, I share basic learning strategies that could help you learn more effectively. I share basic productivity tips and I also share takeaway lessons that I get from books that I read. With all of that said, let's get back to the topic for today. Now I'm going to define a skill in two definitions and I'm going to explain the reason as to why I'm defining these, because I'm going to give you just two things that you can do in your skill acquisition, or rather in your learning of skills, that is going to make that process much faster. Number one is that a skill, now this is just my understanding, you are free to have your own. Now a skill, in my understanding, is that a skill is the ability to solve a problem, but not just to solve a problem, but to solve it well and consistently. So to solve a problem well and consistently. Why? Because if you solve it once by luck, then we can't really call you as being skilled. And if you solve the problem but the solution does not necessarily solve the problem but only changes the problem from one form to another, then we may not necessarily call you as skilled either. So now, why is it that skills are valuable? The reason as to why that skills are valuable is because not everyone has them, because they are hard to acquire. It's not because people are inherently incapable. I do understand that we are blessed differently and there are some things that you may not be able to do as well as others. But generally, on the grand scheme of things, most of the people, unless otherwise, they have the ability to learn most of the skills. But the problem is that the skill acquisition is not an easy process. It's hard. And because it's hard, not a lot of people are able to commit. Sometimes it takes a lot of time. And so there are only a few people who are able to do this. Now, why is skill acquisition hard? Well, a skill most of the time is because most of the skills that are valuable are complex. Most of the skills that are valuable are complex. Now, if you watch the video that I took where I was giving one of the things that you could do in order for you to be able to study much better, I talked about the nature of knowledge. I'm going to talk about skills in a very similar manner, and if you have not watched that video, then you would find the link in the description box or in the caption if you'll be watching this on any other platform apart from YouTube. So a skill is complex. For anything that is complex, that's not an absolute statement. For things which are complex, you must realize that they are made of simpler things. So multiple simple things. They have multiple simple things. So for you, if something is too complex for you to learn, why don't you just break it down into its simpler components and learn those simple things, and together are going to form a complex thing that you're able to do. However, this is not exactly very direct, because you cannot just break down something. You're going to be doing two things I had earlier mentioned. The number one thing that you're going to be doing is something that is called drilling. So you're going to be doing drills. By the way, for those who may want to explore these concepts further, they are also explained and I actually learned about them in the book Ultra Learning by Scott Young. So drilling is isolating one specific component of the skill and actually doing that over and over. The reason as to why that is effective is because you are able to reduce the complexity by focusing on one specific segment. And the other thing is because it can increase your time of learning, because you are going to be isolating those weak points. And then you can work on them much more. Now, the other thing that Scott Young explains in his book, which I believe touched on when I was talking about when I was giving some lessons from the book Lean Learning, you also find that in the description box or in the caption, is that there should be a level of directness. A level of directness is that instead of learning things in the context that they're not going to be used, you learn them in the context that they are going to be used. For example, if you would like to learn how to play a guitar, instead of memorizing musical notes, why don't you pick up the guitar and start playing? That's directness. Not that there is something wrong with learning music or notes. No, that's definitely very, very relevant. But that level of directness should be taken into account. So now, how do you harmonize drills and directness? The way I would like to think about it, and this is exactly that is going to make your skill acquisition process much easier, is that alternate them into a cycle. So if you're learning any skills, now this is application. If you're learning any skills, try your best to actually do the skills. If you're learning how to maybe do graphic designing, you have to actually design something for you to be able to see. If you're learning how to, edit videos, you have to be able to do that. If you're learning how to create videos like I'm doing, you have to be able to create videos. However, you discover that creating videos is not just one process. For example, I have to plan the videos, I have to be able to come up with a good title and a hook, and I have to be able to speak confidently on camera. Sometimes you may have the planned video, you may have good content, but you may not be able to speak confidently on camera. So instead of you continuously trying to do the entire process, why not practice speaking confidently on camera with something that may actually just be funny? With anything, really, not the videos that you would like to make. And when you gain the skill of confidently speaking on camera, then you can actually incorporate it with the process. So now you go on the direct side because you start doing the thing. If you are doing your writing, maybe the problem is your storytelling as opposed to actually having the core fundamental things that you're going to be doing. Why don't you spend some time working on your storytelling? And then after you feel like you have gotten a better grasp of that, then you can feed it into actually writing everything that you're going to be doing. That may look simple, but it is actually very powerful. And I know the way I've explained it, the application is actually quite wide. And so if you would like to get a very good step-by-step way of actually how to plan that, firstly, I can advise you to go on and read books for yourself. For example, Outro Learning by Scott Young is a very good one to give you a very good way. Or you could actually check out my course. By the time you're watching this video, the course may either be launched or not yet. If not yet, there's a link in the description box or in the caption. That is for the waiting list. You can check that out just to be among the people that are going to be receiving updates about the course. Or if it's launched, then definitely there's going to be a link that takes you to that course. So you can check that out if that is something that helps you. The summary of the whole story is that you have skills which are valuable. And they are valuable because they solve problems. However, their acquisition is hard because they are complex. That's the reason as to why not everyone learns them. You would like to learn, but you don't have all of the time in the whole world. So you want to use some things to be able to learn quickly. And two things that you can apply in addition to the things that you're already doing is the concept of drills and the concept of directness. The concept of drills is isolating a skill into its simpler components, attacking the weak points. The component of directness is taking the entire thing and learning it in the context that it is actually going to be learned. What this means is it would actually not be very beneficial for you to literally just separate a skill and just be doing different components, because at the end of the day, it may be hard to actually see how they fit in together. Neither will it be beneficial for you to just take a complex skill and just trying to make sure that you perfect it. It is good to alternate between trying to do it, look at the problems that you have, separate the skill into simpler components, and then try to do a specific intensive practice on those specific weak points that you have. And by doing this cycle over and over again, you will discover that your efficiency at learning will actually improve, and you learn those skills that are valuable. You'll be able to solve the problems that are going to help you meet the purposes that you have for the skill that you're learning. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, then remember to subscribe or like and share this video. See you next time.